Morning you guys, it's Karen and I'm delighted to be doing this video on what I think is, from research, the best ingredients, the best products, the best routine for oily acne prone skin. I have had oily acne prone skin for most of my life. It's only in the last 5 years that my skin has been better, not quite as oily, but that is to do with drugs. You guys always ask what it is. It's called Cyproterone. So Cyproterone acetate. I need to really do a video on that on my other channel just to give you the full information, because it isn't a wonder drug. I mean, it is for polycystic ovary and the symptoms of oily skin, but it has some horrible side effects as well. I'm going to start off by telling you what ingredients I think you should include in your routine if you have oily or acne prone skin, or both. Then I'm going to tell you what I think would be a good example routine, just in case you're wondering how to put everything together. And then I'll tell you some products that kind of that have those ingredients, etc. Hope that makes sense. So, ingredients. The number one I would say is include a retinol or a retinoid product in your routine if you can. And by retinoid, I do not mean gram-active retinoid. Gram-active retinoid is the one that is sold by The Ordinary. I think Garden of Wisdom do one. I'm not talking about a gram-active retinoid. I'm talking about either Tretinoin or Differin. With Adapalene. So it's a little bit more difficult for us in the UK to get hold of Tretinoin, but I have got the Obagi Tretinoin and I got it from, I think it was called Skin Store, and you have a telephone consultation and can therefore get a prescription. There is another website, I don't know whether I'm getting them mixed up. There is another one where there's a monthly subscription. You pay an amount per month and you can get Tretinoin. So I'll try and link both of those in case you're in the UK and want a really good kind of trusted source. You can still get Retirides. Retirides is what I used to get from the Andorran pharmacy, but it is good to get a named one that we all know. So I would say make sure you've got a Tretinoin or a Differin. Differin/Adapalene is one that is geared specifically towards oily and acne skin. There is evidence that it works for aging, but not as much as for Tretinoin. So it depends what you want from it, but you should be able to get that. I get it on prescription from my doctor, or you can also get it now by speaking to the pharmacist, I believe, and buying it over the counter in Boots. And if you don't want to use anything that strong, because they are quite strong and will make your skin quite dry and flaky, then a retinol would be good, as high a percentage as your skin can tolerate. So retinol or Tretinoin/Differin. Number two is salicylic acid. I would say include a salicylic acid product in your routine if you can. And that's only if you find it to work. So it might be something you need to play around with. And I say that because when I had very, very oily skin, salicylic acid did nothing for me. I knew that it was a product that is proven to help with oily skin and to help with acne, and so I persevered. I bought all 3 types of salicylic acid from Paula's Choice: the liquid, the gel, the cream. I actually preferred the cream personally, but none of them I felt made much of an improvement, but I wasn't very consistent with them. So I do think you should include that in your routine, because there is research behind it. Number 3 is niacin. This would be, I wouldn't say essential, but it would be a good one to have in your routine, because that will help with the appearance of your skin, the texture of your skin. It's said to help with pores. I haven't found that, but it's said to help with pores, and it's said to help with like the scarring of blemishes. So I think that's a good one to have in your routine as well. Number 4 might surprise you, but it's squalane. Squalane is an oil, and a lot of people with oily acne prone skin try to avoid oils and want to buy things that are oil free. Certainly I did for most of the time. Most of my life I was like, oh, I don't want that, it's got oil in it, I'm not going to use an oil on it. The first time I heard otherwise was before I started YouTube, and it was from a Clarins lady. I used to get was it the lotus oil? I can't remember. I tried all 3 of their oils. And she explained to me something that made perfect sense, and I've since found it to be true, and a lot of us are kind of catching up now, which is that if you strip your skin and you don't put oil on it, your skin may think that you need more oil and therefore it produces more oil. Whereas if you put a good oil on it, it won't keep on overproducing oil. It's not quite that simple, but that is That is something that happens by stripping your skin too much and not putting enough oil on it. You can end up more oily. So squalane is a good oil that is not going to block your pores. It's not going to feel too thick and greasy. It's a good one that's going to work for you, but not feel too, you know, what's the word? Kind of cloy. I don't know whether that's a Scottish word or not, but hopefully you know what I mean. Number 5 is an SPF. Because you are going to be using things like acids and tretinoin, retinols, etc., I would say you have to have an SPF. But of course, I think everybody should have an SPF in their routine, but it's particularly important when you're using those ingredients. Number 6 would be a night cream with no fragrance or alcohol. You could probably get away with just using squalane. Some people can use that and then don't need to use a night cream on top or underneath. But I personally liked to use a moisturiser as well as an oil. And I said with no fragrance or alcohol, that's what I like to use anyway. But I think especially when you've got acne, fragrance and alcohol might seem like a good idea, and I kind of swore by it for quite a time. When I first started YouTube, I didn't want to give up my alcohol. I knew the evidence, but my skin felt better when I was using alcohol. So I understand if you want to use something with alcohol in it, but it will actually make the defences of your skin worse over time, and you want your defences to be good to fight off further spots in the future, regardless of how things feel currently, if that makes sense. And the same with fragrance. Fragrance will just irritate your skin and if you've got a spot, it will make it more red and angry. Number 7, I've said to include masks. I'm not really that into masks for anything other than spots. That's when I am mask obsessed. When I have really bad skin, I've used all sorts of masks, and I think masks have a good place for acne prone skin. Number 8, I've said spot treatment. Some kind of spot treatment, something that you can grab when a spot is developing, and something you can also use when a spot is in the healing stage. So those are the 8 ingredients that I think would be great to have for oily, acne prone skin. Let's talk routine, how you would put them into a routine. This is a really simple routine, and this doesn't take account of any other issues that you might have. So, you know, there will need to be some playing around, and, you know, I've got other videos on what ingredients you can mix together, etc. If you want to also address aging or also address pigmentation, etc. I will do videos on those separately. This routine is doing the same thing every morning, and then alternate nights. There's 2 different routines for the evening. So you could do that, have one on a Monday night and then follow the second routine for the rest of the week, or you could just do it one night, one the other night. Depends how your skin is reacting to the products. So for the morning, I've said cleanse your skin as you would normally, use a toner, and then put niacin on. I think niacin would be the best thing to use at that point, followed by your SPF. So really simple, niacin and SPF. Then for the evening 1, I've said to take your makeup off, cleanse, make sure your skin is squeaky clean, and then use a salicylic acid, followed by squalane night cream. You can either use those, you can use squalane then night cream, but if your night cream has any actives in it, it's unlikely to get through. So you could use your night cream and then squalane, or you could add a few drops of squalane to your night cream. This is just all about preference, but salicylic acid on night 1. Night 2, or regime 2, would be your active retinol, tretinoin, differin, and then as the night before, so squalane, night cream, or both. And then you can see how your skin reacts to the tretinoin, the retinol, and whether you want to use that little regime once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. And the same with the salicylic acid, is that if that's feeling great and you're preferring that, you can use that most of the week, and then just one night, you know, the tretinoin or the retinol, etc. And then masks and spot treatment as required. Okay, on to products and what I recommend. Let's go down that list of ingredients that I gave you. So retinol or tretinoin, differin. The tretinoin, I would say the Obagi Tretinoin would be a great one because it's just one that's known, but it is the most expensive. For differin, there's only one, and you get it on prescription, so you don't really have a choice of that here in the UK. For retinol, I do like the ordinary retinols because they are in squalane, so you've already got them in a good product, and I think they're really, really nice. But that depends if you want to use your retinol in oil. Both the Inkey List and the Garden of Wisdom do a retinol product, and also Paula's Choice do a 1% retinol, and all of those products I've heard great things from different people. I've done a review of the Garden of Wisdom and the Inkey List one. I'll try and remember and link relevant videos. So yeah, those are the ones I would recommend. And again, I'll link all of these products for you in the description. Number 2, Salicylic Acid. The Paula's Choice ones are really good, and it just depends on your preference of, do you want to use a liquid like a toner? Do you want to use the cream, the gel? The gel, you only have to use the tiniest amount, and it's very, very slippy. So that's probably, from Paula's Choice, that the gel is the most budget friendly, if you like, but because they're quite expensive. But I do like the Paula's Choice products. And then the Ordinary do a 2% salicylic acid, and I did really like the feel of that actually. Again, it just for me didn't do anything as an ingredient, but the salicylic acid from the Ordinary again is very, very slippy. It's in a smaller bottle, but it lasts a long, long time, and that's one I would recommend, and that is a nice, reasonable price. Number 3, niacin. I haven't found the perfect niacin product, but people swear by the Paula's Choice one. I tried that and I just found it a bit watery and I didn't love it. But the two that I have been enjoying recently, or actually this one is quite a while, is Freederm. Freederm is a spot treatment, but it is niacin. This is a niacin. I think it might even be a 1%. 4%. 4% niacinamide. I have mentioned this in a video before. Now this does have alcohol in it, but it's a small amount, and I just think this is a really nice feeling product to have. And that you might think, well, that goes against everything you said because it's got alcohol in it, but it's not high on the list, and I feel like this is such a good product because there aren't that many great niacin products out there. This doesn't make your skincare pill, it doesn't make anything ball up. It feels really refreshing. So I do like this Freederm, and I think that's a good one for niacin. The other one that I've really been enjoying is this Face Theory one. Now this is azelaic acid and niacin. So you could still use this in the morning, exactly the way I've said, use this and then SPF. But your skin might be a bit more sensitive because you're using azelaic acid as well, and then especially if you're using salicylic acid and tretinoin, etc. in the evenings, it might be a bit too much. So it's up to you and how your skin reacts. Squalane, the only one I know that does a squalane on its own is the Ordinary. I'm sure there are plenty of other places you can buy a squalane, but the Ordinary does one. And another good one is the BYBI bakuchiol. That is 99% squalane and 1% bakuchiol, and bakuchiol is an ingredient that would be definitely beneficial to have in your routine, and I don't think there's any issue with mixing it with everything else that you're using. It's a very, very good but gentle ingredient. SPF is a bigger subject, I think, and I have done a video on my favourite SPFs, which I'll link for you. And I also have recently been loving this Paula's Choice one that I talked about in a favourites. It's the SPF 30 Essential Glow. But I think Paula's Choice is probably the best place for you because they do a lot of, lightweight. They do oil-free if that's what you want, but make sure your skin isn't too, tight feeling. But they do all sorts of different SPFs, but also the Ordinary. The Ordinary do a great SPF 30. A night cream with little to no fragrance or alcohol is actually quite hard to find, and I'm always trialing ones, but I've never found the perfect one, other than I do love the Indeed Labs Hydroluron Jelly. That's one that I think is great. There's no fragrance, there's no alcohol, it's very, very moisturising, but it's in that jelly format, so for those of you with oily skin, it doesn't feel like you're blocking up your skin at all. It feels really soothing, it feels really hydrating. I think that would be a wonderful one to use. And I've also been enjoying this. This is the Dr. Jart Ceramidin, but I don't know how easy this is to get for us in the UK because I got this from eBay. Masks, I've got quite a few recommendations for you. One of the things I think would be lovely, one of the masks would be this one. This is the Pore Balance Super Detox Clay Mousse Face Mask. It's £5 and you can buy it in Primark. It is by Alex Steiner. So don't be put off by the fact that it's in Primark because Alex Steiner is a skincare professional. She knows what she's talking about, and this is a really lovely mask for oily skin. Another one that's good but is a lot more expensive is this Dermalogica Charcoal Mask. Another one that feels really lovely going on. It's got nothing horrible in it, but like I said, it is a lot more expensive. The Salicylic Acid mask, I've just done a review of this. I do think that this would be good for oily skin. A lot of you were telling me that you thought I was sensitive to it. There was two different schools of thought. One was you thought that I had sensitivity to it because my skin wasn't used to the salicylic acid, but the mask that I'm using, the 30% AHA, also has 2% salicylic acid in it, so that wasn't applicable really. And the other thing is, a lot of you thought I was using a towel to wipe it off. It wasn't a towel, it was a face cloth. And I can understand why you would think that, because it always looks like I'm being quite rough, and actually I wasn't. But also I removed the other face mask that has 2% salicylic acid and glycolic acid, etc., with a face cloth, and don't get the same sensitivity. So don't think it's that. But all of that aside, it's a good ingredient, like I say. Just because I don't get on with it doesn't mean you won't, and this is a nice mask. The final mask is a dermalogical one, and this is the skin hydrating mask. This would be really nice if your skin was feeling dehydrated, obviously, but also this is really good to just use a little bit on spots that are healing, and just leave it on overnight if you don't want to use like the little dots that I'm going to talk about next. So this is a lovely one kind of for the healing stage, you know, when it gets all dry and it's really hard then to cover up. And so finally, spot treatments. I always loved the Mario Badescu dry-in treatment, I think it's called, or dry-in solution, something like that. But it has alcohol in it. I did find another one that doesn't have alcohol in it, but I didn't find it to be as effective, unfortunately. So I will link the Mario Badescu one and the alternative one, I can't remember the name of it, and you can go for whichever one suits you better. But what I used to put that on. If I felt a spot coming on, I would put that on. You put it on, load it on. It's like got calamine lotion and sulfur in it, and it kind of smells weird while it's on, but it would always, I felt like, help them go down a little bit the following day. But since then, I have discovered spot dots, acne dots, pimple patches. They're called all sorts of names. And there's two different kinds of them, and there's two different kinds that I think are useful at different stages of acne. The first kind has got salicylic acid in it, and it's normally very, very thin, and it's just a clear little sticker that you can put on it. Those are good for when the spot is developing. You know, it will sort of help exfoliate the top layer, bring the spot out. However, when the spot has gone and it's in the healing stage, so it's all dry, the other type of pimple patches are good, and they are hydrocolloid. So they're normally quite thick and spongy, but they will, what I found they do is if you put it on the spot at night, they will stop it being so dry that it makes it difficult to conceal. They'll sort of keep it more, they don't make it wet or anything, you know, and they'll draw out anything that's left in the spot as well. So the hydrocolloid plasters are the ones that I think are best. I said plasters there, you can buy them as dots, but it used to be just salicylic acid dots out. So I used to cut up hydrocolloid plasters and try and put them on my spots, but they never stayed on very well. But I'll link these for you. I buy mine from Amazon. So that's everything. That's the ingredients, a routine, and what products I think would be good. I know I didn't give you hundreds of products, but there are so many good products out there that, like I said, if you try to find something that hasn't got perfume and alcohol in it, I think you'll be doing well. I do still get acne. You will have seen in a recent video when I was showing the salicylic acid mask, I had a big pimple under my nose. You couldn't even call it a pimple. It was a lump. I get that real cystic acne that is very, very painful when you move your mouth, and that takes forever to come to a head. You know, it's just horrific. And I'm 47 years old. I don't feel like I should be getting it at this age, but nowhere near. I don't get it anywhere near as much as I used to. I used to have one of those in this sort of area all the time. So I hope that this is interesting. I hope this was useful, because I know how much it affects your confidence if you've got acne. Even the oily skin without the acne is really bad, because when my skin was really oily, my mascara would be all up here on my eyes, my eyeliner would, you know, come off, my makeup would look terrible. It can be quite depressing if you enjoy makeup and, you know, are conscious of your skin. It's awful. I used to like have my head down in meetings if I had a spot I was really self-conscious of, so I know how important it is to try and get on top of it. So hopefully some of these things will be helpful to you. Let us know what your favourite things are for your oily and acne prone skin, because there may be things I've not thought of that will be useful to people. The things that I'm recommending there are the things with research behind them, you know, which is mostly the tretinoin and a little bit salicylic acid. I will list all of my makeup in the description. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will speak to you again soon.